who, by his own admission, will be, in fact, at the Alabama-LSU game this weekend.
Yeah, I apologize for the text, Barrow.
Until Erin wins tonight, and she offers you probably what?
No, he can't. It's an ethics violation.
What?
He has to
for
sell
me
them
to profit off of the face value of my tickets is an ethics violation.
But wait, Barrow, I could make a campaign contribution to you just because I love you.
There's a limit there.
And then buy the tickets from you at face value, right?
Well, that'd still be an ethics violation. But, LSU, if your donation to LSU, that I'm sure you would make.
Oh, I'm an endowed chair to the Manship School of Journalism.
I bet LSU can make it work.
They can make it work. Okay, good.
They'll probably find you a spot.
They'll find me a spot
for Saturday's game or next Saturday's game.
Oh,
you sent Erin a text a little while ago, and it was an interesting idea about how to fund, because when I was out last week, you had Erin had Dr. Sean Wilson from DOTD in, and he said, if we had that 40 cent a gallon gas tax, that 3-mile stretch of I-49 that may or may not ever be built, we'd have funding. But you have an alternate idea for that, yes?
And it comes from the idea of how does Texas fund their roads? Texas has a 6% state sales tax statewide, but they dedicate a half a penny to infrastructure in Texas. So half a cent of every half a penny to infrastructure. We have the 0.45 that was passed this last year. We have a surplus. Now, we don't know exactly where that surplus has come from yet.
Mm-hmm.
But why not consider rededicating that 0.45 and put it towards roads and bridges in our state?
No, we don't have any of our gas tax dedicated to roads already?
No, this is the gas taxes. This is the sales tax.
Okay, gotcha.
The sales tax that when you go down to Walmart down the street and you buy something, you pay a sales tax.
Right.
Even if someone is driving a Tesla or a Prius, they would pay that sales tax versus people who just use gasoline. Texas does that. They have the same gasoline tax as we do, but they dedicate 0.5% of their sales tax to roads and bridges. When you go to the grocery store, and of course we don't charge it on food and utilities, but when you go to Walmart and you buy something, when you go to Bass Pro, half a cent of sales tax, or that 0.45, which is right there in Louisiana, why don't we dedicate that to roads and bridges?
Do you actually really believe the governor or any Democrats will propose an increased gas tax next spring in an election year?
I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see the bill introduced, but does it move? Does it get a committee hearing? Does it get to the floor of the House? I would be shocked. It's an election year. I don't see that. But does someone introduce a bill this next coming up year? Yes.
Somebody that's term limited, probably, right?
It could come from any source. Now, it'll have to be in the House of Representatives because any new revenue has to start in the House of Representatives. Now, a rededication can start either in the House or the Senate. And that's what I'm saying. That 0.45 that's already been passed, redirect it or redirect a portion of it to infrastructure in our state.
Let's say for a second that suddenly we had all that money, that we had all the money that we needed to build whatever we wanted to build, or at least a portion of that. The fight between our part of the state and South Louisiana, I would think, would still exist, trying to get our share, their share, more than their share. And the way that the political power seems to be spread across the state, i.e. South Louisiana-centric, does that lessen our chances for ever getting that stretch of 49 done?
I mean, that's where when you get into our state, nothing's done by one person or one area. It is us working together. And it's Shreveport-Bossier's delegation having to work with delegations across our state to make things work. And to plead your case and say these are priorities.
Pardon me, but aren't you in effect saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you in effect saying that we just don't have that much juice up here compared to the rest of the state, and so we've got to make deals as opposed to if they can bully us around?
Well, are they all united across all of South Louisiana? No. Is New Orleans in agreement with Baton Rouge? Is Baton Rouge in agreement with Acadiana? I mean, Shreveport, Bossier, and Monroe, if we join together, there's a greater number of votes there. I-20 becomes more important. It's us working together. Everybody has needs, and it's us saying what works for New Orleans, what works for Shreveport, how are we going to get to those things. And a revenue-raising measure, if it's actually it takes 70 votes. So it's a 2/3 majority, and that brings in different areas of the state that have a say in what projects get moved.
Senator Barrow Peacock, let me ask you this. You probably listened to Dr. Wilson. Did you hear him hedging on the Intercity Connector like I did?
I did.
More so than ever, right?
Yes, I did.
Does that worry you?
Yes, it does. That 3.6 miles benefits our state. Growing a tax base in Shreveport-Bossier benefits the entire state. When the Haynesville Shell was going on up here booming, we benefited here, but so did the Department of Revenue in Baton Rouge. When we need a growing economy across the state of Louisiana. I want to see Lake Charles doing well so they can export our natural gas. I want to see Monroe doing well. We want a growing state economy everywhere. When New Orleans is doing well growing, we need to be growing. All of us need to be realizing that we're one state. What stopped us fighting back and forth, and there is that, well, I would want everything, but it doesn't work that way. It has to be a compromise. They have more people in South Louisiana in total, you're correct. But New Orleans and Baton Rouge doesn't always agree eye to eye. Sometimes the New Orleans people need the Shreveport people to get stuff passed.
Do you see that 3-mile stretch that's undone? I'm multiplying 3 times 5,280. That 15,000, 16,000 foot stretch of I-49 that's not done. Do you see that as much of a game changer as does Erin? She was talking about that a little while ago.
I think it is a huge game. It brings people into our heart of our community. It allows people seeing those neon lights down there on the Red River and say, I want to stop in Shreveport-Bossier next time I'm going from Kansas City to the Port of New Orleans. Bring people into our heart. We don't want to see, it's great to have a loop around Shreveport, but you don't want to be bypassed like a East Texas town.
Absolutely. It's a big, big deal. It would be a mistake.
Now,
the governor pledged in 2016, this is a quote, I will build whatever route I-49 the citizens want.
Yeah.
Pretty clear to you the citizens want this?
Yes. I think the vast majority, and it needs to be built the correct way. Build it with service roads. If you go over to Dallas, you go up Central Expressway or go on LBJ, you see those service roads and you see all that development along those major corridors. People want to see that visibility. Why did Moffitt, Audi, Porsche want to move out on I-49 across from Home Depot?
Visibility.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Where are y'all located?
We're on the interstate.
We just wanted to be close to a Cracker Barrel.
But you know, if they build those service roads, you then see restaurants popping up. You see fast food. You'll see, and maybe the folks in that neighborhood, that's not what they want. But it brings growth. It brings jobs.
And there have been studies that said every year, if that 3.6 miles, it would generate $300 million a year in economic activity. We need that. We need private sector jobs in Shreveport-Bossier. If we ever want to see our state having the resources, you've got to grow your economy. And it can't just be give more money, grow a state budget. Unless you have that economy growing, you're going to have that problem. And that's something that we don't have, unfortunately, in Louisiana. We've had a shrinking GDP the past 2 years in Louisiana. Now, fortunately, our national economy is growing, and it's sort of pulling Louisiana along. But we really need to invest in ways that grows that private sector jobs. And let's get our tax structure in Baton Rouge with the inventory tax correct so we could have distribution centers here. I mean, you've got the port, you've got I-20, you've got I-49, you've got KCS, you've got Union Pacific. Let's tie this all together and really become a distribution center and have those private sector jobs so more people can buy ads on your radio station, more people can go to the hospitals.
So I'll have more money to buy Alabama tickets.
That it all works together.
It sure does.